Well, good evening, Internet, and welcome to middle of farmland here in southeast Queensland. I've come out this evening because A, we've got a window of no clouds, which is awesome, and that's come true. And B, I have a new toy I want to play with, and that's what I've come out to experiment with. I'll explain what the new toy is, and we're going to do some test shots tonight and see if it works. I'm right on a main road here, so I do have to just take my time in between cars coming and going. So at the moment, I'm just getting myself set up, and then I'll explain what the new toy is and why I'm using it and how you can use it to really get some cool effects in your Nightscape photos. Excited for this one. Okay, so it's very late blue hour at the moment, and I've framed up, there's a beautiful shed here. Probably can't see it, maybe on the back of the camera. It'll be lit up by this passing car. So yeah, I've got this nice shed here. Drop it and go, mate. Nice car. So I've got the shed here, and then up above is Orion. So it's late blue hour now. What I'm doing is just taking a long exposure. I'll kick that off just so I can get the shot in the bag in between cars. What I've done is I've set the lens to f4 just to give me a bit more sharpness front to back and a bit more depth of field. I'm on bulb, but I'm using my intravolometer set for 1 minute. I need to use this because the maximum shutter length I can do in camera is 30 seconds, and I need to go longer than that. ISO I've got set to 320 on the Sony A7RIV. That's the second base ISO. At ISO 320, this camera has the same noise at ISO 1600, ISO 3200. Explained a bit of that in my last video. So I can just increase the exposure in post and the noise is no different. It's just how it looks on the back of the camera that's affected. I know the exposure is pretty good at those settings. I did a couple of test shots. So that one's just wrapped up now. Got a little bit of that car in the frame, and I'm getting some shadowing from my light as well. So what I might do is going to let this car go past, turn all the lights off, take another foreground shot. Then we're going to have a look at the special toy I've got and why I'm using it. All right, that exposure has finished and I'm happy with the foreground that I've got. So next I need to get some photos of the stars, and that's where I'm calling it a toy, but it's not really. What it is a filter, and this isn't just any filter. This is called a black mist filter, and what it does is it blooms light. So any light source that is visible will have a halo, a glow around it, and it blows it up a little bit. Why is this so cool for Nightscape? Well, it does it to the bright stars in constellations. So the brighter stars in the sky, it makes them bloom, it makes them pop, it makes them really stand out. And that is a super cool effect I've been wanting to do for a long time. So I'm going to pop this filter on now and have a play and see what it comes out like. Now, because I want to avoid star trailing, I'm only going to be able to take quite short exposures with this camera, no longer than 8 seconds at the 16mm that I'm at, and that's just because of the high resolution of the camera. So I'm going to bring it back to 8 seconds, going to open it up to f2.8. I'll keep the ISO at 3200 for now, and I'm not worried about lighting up the foreground because at the moment all I am doing is taking a shot for the sky just to see what this filter does. So let's run that. And of course you think I'd clean my camera screen. Let's just see. I may need to take a few photos here to really dial in the exposure. Now this filter cost me a whole $22 on Amazon, which is rather spectacular, and I can see that it is blooming around the stars, especially like that one there. So that's cool. That's getting the effect that I want. Now, I might up my ISO just so I can see it on camera. As I said before, I don't need to, but again, I'm experimenting and playing. So let's just try an 8-second ISO 1600 shot. Again, I can push that exposure in post-processing and get the same noise. I am going to take a stack. I love the locals out here. All right, that's cool. That is doing exactly what I want it to do. And I like that effect. That's really making those stars pop. Yeah, that's so cool. All right, I'm going to take a stack of 10 photos so I can stack them in post-processing and get rid of any satellite trails and such. It also will help reduce any noise that is there in the image. So I'm going to just take them back to back, and they're only 8 seconds apart, and then we'll see what we can do next. Okay, so I've taken 10 photos with the star filter on. I'm now taking another 10 without the star filter, just so I have a bit of a comparison, but also I can blend one into the other if I want and get a bit of best of both worlds. I find when I'm out shooting nightscapes and experimenting and having a play around, shoot as much as you can for whatever your brain can conceive. You know, I'm shooting for post-processing. I'm shooting with possibilities in mind. I don't have an exact result right here in front of me. I'll be putting this together on the computer back home. But as of right now, I'm getting the frames and the images that I need to do that. That's pretty much how I do most of my photography, even when I'm shooting landscapes. I'm shooting just to get the right exposure and composition, and capture the light that's happening. But I put it all together in post-processing because I'm shooting raw, and I'm shooting maybe multiple exposures and focus points, etc., etc. It's pretty cool. I like to work this way, and I think it helps your creativity. Oh, wait for all these cars. And it's pretty cool. Photography is a creative outlet for me. To be able to come here, capture the real images myself, spend the time outdoors, and then go back and get creative in post-processing. That's what I love about it. It's just so much fun. Okay, that should be it for the non-filtered star photos. Now, I did get 2 of these for $24 Australian, mind you. This is the strongest one, so it's called the 2. There is a weaker one as well. Figure I'm going to start strong, and I can always dial it back in a blend. Okay, well, I think I've got everything I need for this image, so what I'm going to do is have a bit of a play around more, but for now, here's the photograph from the barn with the star glow. Please enjoy. Back on the computer now, and I'm here in DXO Photolabs 9. Use the discount code MurrayFox in the DXO store if you're interested in this software or any other DXO programs. You can get 15% off. It's pretty cool. What I have here is one of the 10 star exposures I took of the Orion area, which was above the shed. I framed it up specifically without the shed in the shot. I just find it's nicer and easier to then blend back into the ground photo later on. So what we're going to do to start with, this was shot at ISO 320, f2.8 and 8 seconds at 18 millimeters. So very underexposed as far as the exposure goes. You can see on the histogram up here on the top left, all the data is pushed to the left. Again, in camera, you could raise the ISO to 1600, see everything quite nicely. On a Sony, on my specific Sony camera, you'd have to check yours, but on my specific one, because the sensor is ISO invariant, the only benefit of me raising the ISO above 320 is to see it physically on the back of the camera. The harm that it does is it reduces the dynamic range. That's the difference between the darkest parts of the photo and the brightest parts. And the brightest parts in this case is the beautiful stars and the colors in that star. So I don't want to lose that. So I shoot at ISO 320, and then I'll come over here to the exposure slider and absolutely ramp it up. I probably won't go quite that far, but I'm pulling that up 3.3 stops. Like, that's a huge amount of increase. If I go into 100%, yes, there is some color noise here, etc., and just general noise. It's not insane. It's not bad. But I've maintained, look at all the beautiful color around these stars. And because I'm going to stack 10 photos together, I don't have a problem. All that noise will be gone. The other benefit, as I mentioned, is look at all these satellite lines. These aren't meteorites or anything like that. These are all various satellites showing up in my photo, and they will be in every single frame. By stacking, it averages out the data between the frames and it removes all of those. So I find now, especially with all the Starlink satellites up in the sky, stacking is pretty much a requirement. Like, to try and get a single shot, yeah, you can do it, but you're going to end up with all of these various trails of satellites through your photos. Anyway, from here, what I would normally do is just some basic processing before I exported it and then stacked it. Things like I would pull the highlights down, which will reveal more of that star color. So if I zoom in here, the difference between that, so you can see there's a lot of white still in the core here, but if I pull the highlights down, it's just revealing more of that color. I may do a little bit of a contrast. That'll just help the stars pop. And then once I've done that, I could even push the exposure up a bit more. And that would be my sky exposure, basically. And then I would stack 10 of those in Sequator. If you're interested in how I do that, please comment down below and I'll put together a little video of editing, you know, all the stars, this type of thing, to stack them. And it's simple, it's very easy. Anyone can do it. You don't need any special gear. As you saw, I was only shooting 8-second long photos here. I wasn't trying to get a bright Milky Way core or anything like that. I wasn't tracking. This is simple Nightscape photography that anyone with a camera that has manual settings, and I would probably recommend a remote trigger, but you can use a 2 or 8-second or 10-second timer built into the camera. So anyone with a camera with that type of setting, you can take this type of shot. The filter I used, basically, they're available all over the world. I got mine off Amazon. I just searched for mist filter. You'll find like quarter strength ones, half strength ones, 1/8. I think a quarter strength gives this type of effect on the stars. That's what I would go for. I don't think you need any stronger. So maybe a 1/8 and a 1/4, and then you can play between them. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It's only a short one. I'm going to be getting back out there again very, very shortly for some landscapes and nightscapes. Do have another week of storms apparently coming. We'll wait and see what happens there. Be sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out anything. And until then, why not watch another one of these videos here? Thanks again.